Before I tell you the next part of this story, I need you to do something first. I need you to believe in the impossible. I need you to believe that one man can save an entire city with a bow and arrow. I need you to believe that a man can run faster than the speed of light. I need you to believe that a group of misfits can save the entirety of time and space. And I need you to believe that a girl can fly. Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. I'm Erod and I'm the Blockbuster Buster, and welcome back to a look back at the Arrowverse. Now, when we last left off, in the span of 4 years, Arrow and Flash went from being vaguely known comic book characters to two of the most valuable intellectual properties in the world of entertainment. Arrow cemented its place on television by telling a compelling tale of redemption that sees a man evolve from a vengeful, violent vigilante called the Hood to a legendary hero known as the Green Arrow. All of which was beautifully complemented by some of the most amazing action sequences and stunts that the medium has ever seen. All the while, The Flash embraced sci-fi and fantasy, and showed us the trajectory of an average man becoming the impossible, and his journey from being an urban legend called the Streak to one of the most iconic heroes of all time, The Flash. And right when you thought that this era of television couldn't get any better, the two of them teamed up in a couple of awesome crossovers that saw them take on the likes of Prism, Captain Boomerang, and the immortal Vandal Savage. But little did we know that these first few seasons of Arrow and Flash were only the beginning, and that they were opening up the door to a higher universe, one that would include the Girl of Tomorrow. But before we get to her, there's another character that is worth talking about, as the Flash was not the only superhero that was introduced during Arrow Season 2. The Canary. Now, for those of you who don't know, created by Robert Kanigher and Carmine Infantino, Dinah Laurel Lance is the daughter of the Golden Age Black Canary, and she is born with the Meta gene, which allows her to emit a high-frequency sonic scream powerful enough to shatter concrete, which she calls the Canary Cry. Trained by her father as a detective and her mom's old Justice Society teammates as a fighter, Dinah uses her skills and power to fight crime alongside the Justice League, the Birds of Prey, and her most recurring love interest, the Green Arrow, as the fearsome femme fatale known as the Black Canary. However, one of the most recurring motifs in the Arrowverse is that of subverting expectations. So, while most of us assumed that Laurel Lance, played by Katie Cassidy, would become Black Canary in Season 2, we very quickly learned that that would not be the case, as the mysterious Black Canary makes her debut during Arrow's second year as an enigmatic vigilante, who saves the day and then vanishes into the shadows. Eventually, the Emerald Archer catches up with her, and she's unmasked, only to reveal that she is none other than Laurel's younger sister, Sarah Lance, played by Katie Lotz, a former member of the League of Assassins. Sarah's arc in Arrow was that of death and redemption, one that would take a very unexpected turn. But we're gonna put a pin in that story momentarily to divert to the third Arrowverse show, one that would feature one of the most iconic characters in comics, the Girl of Steel. Now, for those of you who don't know, created by Otto Binder and Al Plastino, Kara Zor-El is the last survivor of Argo City, which was sent adrift in space when the planet Krypton exploded. She makes it to Earth on a makeshift rocket, where she meets her cousin, Kal-El, aka Superman. Developing amazing powers under the Earth's yellow sun, Kara follows on her cousin's footsteps and works to protect humanity so what happened to her planet and her people will never happen again, taking up the mantle of Supergirl.
What makes her so super?
Well, I'm convinced.
After the massive success of Arrow and Flash, Warner Bros. Television voiced their interest in a Supergirl series to capitalize on that ever-elusive female demographic. The show was assigned to the team behind the Arrowverse, now collectively known as Berlanti Productions, who gave the title of producer and showrunner for the series to Ali Adler and Sarah Schechter, who produced an amazing pilot that was shown at Comic-Con that year and was very well received by the fans, but turned down by the CW, because they had just picked up Frequency. And according to the head of the network, they already had a girl show. Long story short, CBS picked up Supergirl instead, Supergirl premiered on October 26, 2015, completely demolishing the ratings of both the Arrow and Flash premieres, with Melissa Benoist playing the titular role, who, believe it or not, was the first person to audition for the part. The show was a massive hit, maintaining steady ratings all throughout season 1. And then CBS dropped it. Why? Because even though the show was successful, it was very expensive to produce, so the return didn't justify the investment. Thankfully, the CW came to its senses, mostly because Frequency had been cancelled, and picked up Supergirl for season 2 and beyond. So the production of Supergirl was moved from California to Vancouver, along with Arrow and Flash, where it's apparently more cost-effective to film superhero shows.
You got money?
Supergirl expanded the Arrowverse, while Arrow took on street crime and Flash explored the advent of superpowers. Supergirl looked to the stars and explored aliens and other planets and high-concept sci-fi. But very much like The Flash, the number one question on everybody's mind after Supergirl premiered was, when is this show gonna cross over with the others? Thankfully, we wouldn't have to wait long for that question to be answered. On March 28, 2016, Supergirl's first Arrowverse crossover premiered, The World's Finest, which sees The Flash accidentally create a breach to Earth-38 and meet the Girl of Steel. While the crossover is very corny and a bit uneventful, it was an absolute delight to see these two characters together, and Grant Gustin and Melissa Benoist's chemistry was undeniable.
For the record, I got here first.
Yeah, for the record, I went around the block to check the perimeter, so technically I let you get here first.
Supergirl moving to Vancouver and joining the Arrowverse proper started the tradition of Berlanti Productions saving other DC shows. However, the first attempt at saving a cancelled DC series sadly was not successful, as they tried to get the CW to pick up NBC's Constantine by having it crossover with Arrow. But while the crossover was very cool, the CW was not interested in adding DC's dodgy demonologist to their programming schedule. So instead, Berlanti added Constantine to the other Arrowverse show that premiered the same year as Supergirl.
It's been a long time, love.
John?
Don't call them heroes. The downside of having two of the most successful television shows on the same network is that there is an embarrassing drop-off in ratings when those two shows are on hiatus. So the CW voiced interest in some kind of an Arrowverse miniseries that would air during Flash and Arrow's mid-season break. So Berlanti and company put their magnificent brains together and created Legends of Tomorrow, a show that was very quickly put into production by using actors, costumes, and sets from Flash and Arrow, and explored an avenue of storytelling that had only been barely touched upon in the previous shows: time travel. Now, unlike the other shows that I've talked about, I'm not gonna do a, for those of you who don't know, segment for Legends of Tomorrow, because the creators of the show took some major liberties with these characters, some of which don't even resemble their comic book counterparts. However, this proved to be to the show's benefit, as using obscure characters helped to quell fan expectations, and the creators could do just about anything they wanted with these characters without the fear of backlash from DC Comics and the fanbase. This gave Legends an advantage that Arrow, Flash, and Supergirl didn't have. This show was bulletproof. The creators could do just about anything they wanted with the characters and their storylines. Legends premiered January 21st, 2016, and the ratings were okay. But what the show lacked in viewership, it made up in potential, as it gave the creators the freedom to tell the type of stories that they couldn't tell in the other shows.
We broke time.
Originally under Phil Klemmer's leadership, the first season of Legend picks up where the second Flash and Arrow crossover left off, with Time Master Rip Hunter assembling a team of misfits and anti-heroes, which includes Sarah Lance as a newly christened White Canary, to travel through time and space on his ship, the Wave Rider, to stop the immortal Vandal Savage from taking over the world in the future. The first season of Legends is your standard superhero fare. During season 2, however, Kato Shimizu joined the show as producer and later as showrunner. And everything changes, as the show becomes the most bold and daring of the Arrowverse shows, throwing all caution to the wind. and embracing all manner of storytelling concepts, no matter how wacky or off the cuff. But the most significant change came when Arthur Darvill, Rip Hunter, needed to leave the series, so someone else had to take over as the captain of the Wave Rider, and Sarah Lance, the White Canary, was chosen for the task. Now, I'm ashamed to admit that I initially thought this was a bad idea, as I felt that Sarah Lance was a better supporting character than a lead. And boy, was I wrong. Making Sarah Lance the leader of the team was exactly what this show needed, as it propelled the series to new heights, and it made absolute perfect sense that you needed a misfit to lead a team of misfits. And while Arrow, Flash, and Supergirl got better ratings, I can tell you without exaggeration that during Legends Seasons 2 through 5, it was the best show in the entire franchise. I am dead serious. Watch the corresponding episodes from all 4 shows side by side, and I guarantee you that the writing, characterizations, and story arcs were better out of all 4 shows.
You should bring bears.
Better yet, an army.
Who needs an army when you got Legends?
Now, while there wasn't a heavy demand for Legends to cross over with the 3 other Arrowverse shows, that didn't stop the creators from giving us a crossover anyway. The Invasion. This was the first crossover between the 4 shows, which showed us Green Arrow, the Flash, Supergirl, and the Legends team up to stop an invading force of alien conquerors called the Dominators from wiping all the metahumans from the face of the Earth. While this crossover was bigger and more elaborate than the last, it wasn't necessarily better. There was a lot of unnecessary drama in this one, with the team losing their trust in the Flash because he changed the timeline to save his mother, and Green Arrow not trusting Supergirl because she's an alien. It's just a bunch of mini conflicts that just felt forced and unnecessary. But ultimately, it was fun and ridiculously cool to see all of these characters side by side. Not to mention that this crossover had 2 major milestones. Number 1, this is when the fans started to refer to Green Arrow, Flash, and Supergirl as the Trinity, a title that was initially reserved for Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman.
Good, guys.
That was a good take.
Yeah.
That was a great take.
Guys, I feel like that would have worked a little bit better with the real Trinity.
Yeah, well, I asked, and they said hard pass.
And number 2, during this crossover, Arrow reached its 100th episode, with an awesome epic tribute to the show that started it all.
Ollie!
With the Trinity and the Legends in place, the Arrowverse kept getting bigger and bigger, and nothing commemorated the growth and evolution of this franchise more than the next time that these 4 shows crossed over. The First Crisis. This is the best crossover they ever did, and the apex of my fandom towards this franchise. Crisis on Earth X, which sees our heroes gather to attend the wedding of Barry Allen and his long-running love interest Iris West. Unfortunately, their nuptials coincide with Central City being invaded by an army of Nazi doppelgangers from an alternate Earth.
Nazis?
I hate Nazis.
Look, the Avengers might have stopped a superpowered purple alien from erasing half the life in the universe, but nothing, I repeat nothing, is more satisfying than watching Nazis get their asses kicked. This crossover is fan-freaking-tastic. The action sequences, the interactions, the twists, the team-ups, not to mention, we got to see a lot of the regulars play villains. And everyone did such a great job, especially Stephen Amell and Melissa Benoist, whose chemistry with Grant Gustin is just superb. There was just something special about seeing these 3 actors together, where they would just elevate and make each other better every time they shared the screen. They would give me a feeling that I never got from seeing the movie version of the Trinity. Grant, Stephen, and Melissa playing Flash, Arrow, and Supergirl were the heroes that we deserve.
Just a quick reminder. Super speed. I don't have it.
Noted.
Look, all of the Arrowverse crossovers are fun, but this one is a cut above the rest, and it's just on a league of its own.
General, would you care to step outside?
while our heroes managed to thwart both an alien and Nazi invasion, it had become perfectly clear that the necessity for a yearly crossover wasn't going to stop. So, on our next look back at the Arrowverse, more shows join the franchise, and our heroes begin to take the steps to put together a team.